Welcome back to The Deep Dive. We take subjects you think you know, and, well, we go deeper. Today, we are plunging into a global phenomenon truly huge in the anime world, Jujutsu Kaisen. Now, you probably know it for the incredible action, the style, those really charismatic characters, but what if there's something more? A much deeper, sort of sophisticated core underneath all that flash? Yeah, our mission today is to get past the surface, really delve into the intricate metaphysical architecture holding this series up. Specifically, we're focusing on those, well, terrifying, often grotesque, but always compelling entities, the cursed spirits or Jirei. We aren't just looking at cool monster designs here. We're talking about deeply thoughtful constructs.
It's exactly right. These aren't just, convenient bad guys thrown in for fights. The main idea, the thesis really, is that these cursed spirits are complex adaptations. They take ancient Japanese, Shinto, Buddhist, and folkloric beliefs and sort of re-engineer them. Re-engineer them to reflect modern anxieties, our anxieties. You see, the supernatural in Jujutsu Kaisen isn't just magic. It's presented as a direct, almost visceral consequence of just being human. Curses are literally born from the buildup of humanity's negative emotions. Fear, hatred, despair, which makes this central conflict less like a simple good versus evil thing and more like a clash of, let's say, yin versus yang. It's a world where the monsters hunting us are fundamentally a reflection of us.
Wow. So by tracing these origins, looking at where these ideas come from, we should be able to see how the series builds this really resonant modern mythology, where the biggest horror isn't some external demon from another dimension, but the human heart itself. Okay, get ready. This is going to change how you see Jujutsu Kaisen. All right, let's unpack this. To really get the story's depth and its pretty chilling implications, we first need to understand the rules. They're actually incredibly logical in their own terrifying way. At the absolute core of this world's power system is cursed energy, Juryoku. And crucially, this isn't just some vague magic force. The series is very explicit, again and again. It comes from human negative emotions. Every single person leaks this energy, apparently. But normal people, non-sorcerers, they can't control it. And this leaked energy, it accumulates. Where does it go?
Well, it pools in places steeped in those negative feelings. Think about schools, hospitals,
right.
Places with a lot of residual fear, stress, pain. It collects there almost like this spiritual toxic sludge. And eventually it coalesces, takes form.
And becomes the cursed spirits we see.
Exactly. And it's fascinating because this core concept, it's like a secular take on a key Buddhist principle, Bono. Bono basically refers to worldly afflictions, defilements, the kind of mental states that cause suffering and disturb the mind.
Okay, Bonian.
In Buddhist teaching, bonus are seen as the root of all suffering. They're often distilled down into the three poisons, the sendoku, which are greed or attachment, hatred or aversion, and ignorance or delusion.
Right, the three poisons. I've heard of those.
And you can map the cursed spirits right onto these. Take Mahito, for example. He's a powerful special grade curse. He was literally born from humanity's collective hatred and fear of other humans. That's a pure manifestation of shini, which is the Buddhist term for anger or hatred.
Wow, okay. Direct link.
Absolutely. And then you have the disaster curses, Jogo, Hanami, Dagon. They represent these primal fears of natural forces. Volcanoes, forests, oceans. Now that fear seems instinctual, right? Fear of nature. But it also taps into deep-seated self-preservation, a form of greed, maybe, Tanyoku, and also a kind of ignorance, Gucci, about our place in the world.
So Jujutsu Kaisen takes this internal spiritual struggle we all have, the fight against Bono, and it literally turns it outward, makes it physical, into monsters you have to physically fight.
Precisely. The act of exorcism, it's not just a cool action scene. It becomes this violent physical purging of spiritual sickness. Someone called it a kind of secularized soteriology. Soteriology is the study of salvation, right? Right. So here, the warriors, the sorcerers, they're fighting for physical survival against these externalized afflictions, not necessarily for internal enlightenment or nirvana.
It's a very brutal, very practical way of looking at a deeply philosophical problem, isn't it?
It is. It transforms this abstract idea of spiritual suffering into a tangible physical enemy you can punch or exorcise.
Okay, but even though these curses come from chaotic emotional sources, the world of Jujutsu Kaisen imposes this really strict, almost bureaucratic order on them. There's a whole ranking system, right? For both the Koses and the sorcerers who fight them.
Oh yeah, very rigid. It runs from grade 4, which is the weakest, all the way up to the really terrifying special grade category.
And they have benchmarks for these grades, like real world comparisons.
They do, and it gives you a chilling sense of scale. A grade 4 curse.
Yeah.
The idea is you could probably take it out with a wooden bat.
Okay, manageable.
Grade 3 needs a handgun. Grade 2, you're looking at a shotgun.
Getting serious.
But then, grade 1, even a tank might not be enough. And special grade.
Wow.
You're talking about something that might require, like, cluster bomb, carpet bombing, just for a chance at winning. It's overwhelming power.
Wow.
But what's really interesting here is how this system does more than just set up power levels for the plot. Thematically, it tells you a lot about the Jujutsu society itself. Its leadership is deeply conservative, very bureaucratic. They're trying to impose this rational, quantifiable order on something fundamentally irrational and emotional. The curse is born from feelings.
So they're managing symptoms, not the root cause.
Exactly. They're managing the outbreaks, the manifestations, rather than dealing with the source, the negative human emotions themselves. Which, if you think about it, kind of mirrors how modern society often tackles deep problems, right? Manage the visible symptoms, don't necessarily dig into the complex origins.
And Satoru Gojo, he's constantly railing against this system, isn't he?
He is. His whole deal is challenging this stagnant, ineffective approach. He wants to reform it from the ground up.
Okay, so cursed energy, the grading system. What does this mean for the curses themselves? You said they aren't just one type of thing.
Not at all. They're as varied and complex as the human fears that spawn them. The series actually lays out a really detailed typology.
Let's get into that.
Okay, so first you have vengeful, cursed spirits, the Onryu. These are typically spirits of humans who died tragically, holding on to intense negative emotions. The prime example in the series is Rika Oramoto. Her incredibly powerful bond with Yuto Katsu got twisted by his grief and his refusal to let her go when she died.
Right, in the movie Jujutsu Kaisen 0.
Exactly. That intense personal trauma turned her into the queen of curses, born from love and grief gone wrong. Then you have imaginary vengeful spirits, Kasato and Ryo. These are fascinating. They aren't born from a specific person's death. They're born from collective fear. The fear attached to well-known myths, legends, even modern urban legends. Their power level is basically proportional to how widely known and feared that story is.
So like Bigfoot wouldn't be that strong unless people were genuinely terrified of him.
Something like that. The examples in the series are more rooted in Japanese folklore, like the legendary nine-tailed fox, Tamamo-no-Mae, or on the modern side, the Kuchisakayana, the slit-mouthed woman.
Right, the urban legend.
Yeah. Shows that myth-making and curse-making is still happening. Next up, a really important category, the disaster curses. These are unique. They're intelligent, sentient, special-grade curses, and they're born from humanity's big, primal fears of natural forces.
You mentioned these earlier, Jogo, Hanami, Dagon.
That's them. Jogo embodies fear of volcanoes and the earth. Hanami, fear of forests and nature's wrath. Dagon, fear of the ocean's depths. And their sort of leader figure, Mahito. He represents the fear and hatred humans have for each other.
That's heavy, yeah.
It is. Then, briefly, you also see disease curses. Visceral manifestations of the fear of specific illnesses, like the smallpox deity shown early on.
Okay.
And finally, there are the cursed womb. Death paintings, the Jutaikushu. These are particularly grotesque.
Oso and his brothers.
Yes. They were created from aborted fetuses mixed with a cursed spirit's blood by the sorcerer Noritoshi Kamo centuries ago. Their existence directly references the Buddhist kushu, a traditional series of 9 paintings showing a corpse decaying. Their powers, based on blood manipulation and decay, tie right back into that origin. Philosophical horror, really.
Wow, that typology alone shows just how deep the series goes in cataloging human fear. Every anxiety can literally take on a life of its own. Okay, so how much of this bigger framework, the energy, the exorcism, how much does that draw from older Japanese traditions beyond just borrowing monster names?
Oh, it's incredibly deep. The whole supernatural system is profoundly rooted in Japanese religious and folkloric traditions. Geiji Akutami, the creator, clearly did their homework. Take cursed energy itself. It finds a really strong parallel in the Shinto concept of kigar.
Kigar, what's that exactly?
In Shinto, kigar isn't moral sin like in some Western religions. It's a state of spiritual pollution or impurity. It's caused by contact with things like death, disease, childbirth, blood, things that disrupt the natural harmony and are thought to deplete life force.
Okay, a kind of spiritual contamination.
Exactly. And in Jujutsu Kaisen, cursed energy is basically the ultimate kigar. It's this pervasive spiritual pollution generated by negative human emotions. Cursed spirits, then, are the monstrous embodiments of that kigar.
So exorcism.
Exorcism becomes a kind of violent modern take on the traditional Shinto purification rite, which is called hara. Even things like the barrier technique sorcerers use, or domain expansions. They function like temporary sacred spaces, kekai, where this forceful purification, this exorcism, can happen more effectively.
But here's the twist, right? The inversion you mentioned.
Yes. This is brilliant. In traditional Shinto, kigari is a state of weakness, something to be cleansed and removed to restore purity and strength. But in Jujutsu Kaisen, this very same impure energy, cursed energy, is the source of all supernatural power in this series.
Right. You can't just get rid of it.
No. Sorcerers have to embrace it, learn to control it, and actually wield it. The most powerful sorcerers, like Gojo, have immense reserves of this negative energy.
And Gojo's ultimate technique, the cursed technique reversal.
Exactly. Where he multiplies negative cursed energy by negative cursed energy to create positive energy. That's the absolute pinnacle of mastering this paradox.
To purify the world of curses, you have to become the ultimate master of the very impurity that creates them.
It's a fantastic contradiction at the heart of the power system.
And beyond these big concepts, the series pulls specific figures straight from Japanese history and myth, but reinterprets them, right? Like the big bad himself, Ryomen Sukuna.
Oh, absolutely. Sukuna is fascinating. He's directly inspired by a figure mentioned way back in the Nihon Shoki, an ancient Japanese chronicle from 720 AD. There, he's described as a villain, a rebel against the imperial court, with this very distinctive look, 2 faces, 4 arms, 4 legs.
Which is exactly how he looks in his true form in the manga.
Precisely. But then there are local legends, particularly in the Gifu region, where Sukuna is seen completely differently, as a hero, a benefactor, maybe even a minor deity who introduced Buddhism to the area.
So villain in the official history, hero in local folklore.
Exactly. And Jujutsu Kaisen Sukuna brilliantly synthesizes this duality. He's presented as the undisputed king of curses, this supremely arrogant, unbelievably powerful, cruel figure from the golden age of Jujutsu, the high-end period. He retains that iconic appearance, the 2 faces, the 4 arms. His title, Ryomen, literally means two-faced, which becomes both literal for his appearance and figurative for his nature and historical ambiguity. It's genius.
That really is clever. It gives him layers beyond just being the ultimate evil.
Okay, how deep does this weaving of history go? You mentioned Sugawara no Michizane.
Yes, and this connection is mind-blowing when you realize it. Michizane was a real person, a brilliant scholar and politician in the Heian era. He was highly respected, but fell victim to political rivals, was falsely accused, and unjustly exiled. He died in exile filled with bitterness.
Okay, a historical tragedy.
But after his death, a series of disasters struck the capital: plagues, droughts, fires, even lightning strikes that killed his main rivals. People at the time attributed these calamities to his angry, vengeful spirit, his onrai.
The vengeful spirit concept again.
Exactly. To appease his spirit, he was eventually posthumously pardoned, given higher ranks, and ultimately deified as Tenjin, the Shinto god of learning and calligraphy, who is still widely worshipped today.
Okay, so how does Jujutsu Kaisen connect to this?
This is the audacious part. The series reveals that 2 of the absolute most powerful sorcerers in its modern era, Satoru Gojo and Yuta Okatsu, are his distant descendants. Wait, descendants of this legendary vengeful spirit?
Yes. The implication is just stunning. It means that the ultimate power used to fight curses within the Jujutsu world, its very lineage traces back to one of Japan's most famous foundational curses.
Whoa.
It suggests the establishment, the very system that upholds order and fights curses, is built upon a legacy of intense, unresolved human emotion, historical injustice, and frankly, terror. It's deeply ironic.
That adds a whole other layer to Gojo's power, and maybe his rebellious streak too. Okay, so we have direct lineage. What about curses born from stories, like you mentioned with the imaginary curse, Kasan Reef, like Tamamo-no-Mae?
Right. This shows how shared cultural narratives themselves can become sources of power. Tamamo-no-Mae is one of Japan's 3 terrible yokai, legendary monsters. She's famously known as a beautiful 9-tailed fox spirit who infiltrated imperial courts in Japan, India, and China, using her charms to manipulate rulers and cause chaos and destruction. Eventually, she was exposed and killed, and her spirit supposedly transformed into the Seshuseki, the killing stone, which emitted poisonous gas.
A very famous, very feared legend.
Extremely. So when she manifests as a special grade Kasundri in Jujutsu Kaisen, her immense power comes directly from how widely known, feared, and retold her story is over centuries. The series is basically saying that collective cultural consciousness, our shared stories and fears, can be literally weaponized into these powerful entities.
And mentioning the Kuchisake Onna, the slit-mouth woman.
Yeah, bringing in a modern urban legend shows that this isn't just about ancient history. The process of creating powerful myths, and therefore potential curses, is dynamic. It's still happening now, fueled by modern fears and stories.
Okay, if we try and tie all this together now, these concepts, the cursed energy, the historical roots, the types of curses, they aren't just background flavor, are they? They seem fundamental to everything.
Oh, completely. They are the load-bearing structures for the plot, for the character arcs, for the deeper thematic explorations. Everything rests on this foundation.
How so with the plot?
Well, the core mechanics drive the entire narrative engine. Think about it. The whole story kicks off because Yuji Itadori swallows one of Sukuna's fingers, a special grade cursed object. That's the inciting incident. The huge Shibuya incident arc. That massive, city-altering battle. Its entire strategy revolves around neutralizing Gojo by sealing him inside the prison realm, another incredibly powerful, ancient, cursed object.
Right, taking the strongest piece off the board.
Exactly. And the current major arc, the Culling Game, that's revealed to be a massive, complex ritual orchestrated by the ancient sorcerer Kenjaku. His goal is to use the cursed energy generated by the game to force an evolution, merging Japan's population with the ancient entity Tenjin.
So the plot points aren't random, they're direct consequences of how curses and cursed energy work in this world.
Precisely. It makes the world feel incredibly cohesive. The stakes feel real because they operate according to these established supernatural laws.
And what about the characters? How did these concepts shape them?
Profoundly. The brutal encounters with cursed spirits aren't just physical challenges, they are catalysts. They force the characters into these deep philosophical and ethical dilemmas, forcing them to grow, or sometimes break.
Like with Yuji Itadori.
Absolutely. Yuji starts with this very pure, inherited philosophy from his grandfather. Help people, ensure everyone gets a proper death. It's quite idealistic. But then he comes face to face with the sheer senseless cruelty of curses like Mahito, who embody malice and find joy in suffering. This brutally deconstructs Yuji's worldview. His journey becomes about hardening his resolve, figuring out how to fight this kind of evil without losing himself, and that constant internal battle with Sukuna over control and morality. He's forced to confront the ugliest parts of existence.
Okay, and Megumi Fushiguro?
Megumi is fascinating. He's defined early on by this almost self-destructive impulse to sacrifice himself, but only for people he deems worthy. It's reflected in his Ten Shadows technique, which is versatile, but also has that potential for a final suicidal trump card. His arc is largely about learning the value of his own life, his own potential, moving beyond just seeing himself as a tool or a sacrifice.
And someone like Suguru Geto, his fall is directly tied to the nature of curses, isn't it?
Tragically so. Geto's descent into villainy stems directly from the psychological toll of his cursed technique, consuming curses to control them. He describes the taste as being like a rag used to clean up vomit.
Ugh.
Yeah, that constant visceral disgust combined with witnessing the ignorance and sometimes malice of the ordinary humans he's supposed to protect, it leads to this profound burnout and disillusionment. He snaps. It's a really powerful, dark exploration of the burden these sorcerers carry.
And the battles themselves, they carry more weight than just action, like you said. Yuji versus Mahito feels like more than a fight.
It absolutely is. It's an allegorical battle, really. Mahito's whole power is idle transfiguration, reshaping the soul through touch. He represents nihilism, the idea that the soul, human identity, is meaningless and mutable. So Yuji's fight against him isn't just about hitting harder, it's a literal battle against the devaluation of the human soul. It requires Yuji to assert the meaning of existence, to find philosophical and emotional resilience, not just physical strength. It's a test of his very being.
That adds so much depth. This all leads to a very morally complex world, doesn't it? It's not black and white.
Not at all. The series deliberately blurs those lines. That yin versus yin idea we started with really comes through here. On one hand, the leadership of the jujutsu world, the supposed good guys, are often shown to be deeply conservative, elitist, corrupt, even cruel in their adherence to tradition and power structures. They sacrifice people readily.
Right, the higher-ups aren't exactly saints.
Far from it. And on the other hand, the intelligent cursed spirits, especially the disaster curses, they're given surprisingly sympathetic, almost understandable motivations. They see themselves as the true humans, or the rightful inhabitants of the earth, fighting for liberation against this destructive, hypocritical humanity that pollutes the planet and generates the very negativity that births them.
They have a point from their perspective.
They do. The series humanizes antagonists. Think about Jogo's death. After being utterly defeated by Sukuna, his final moments are this unexpected flash of pride and even joy, because Sukuna, the strongest, acknowledges his strength and tells him to be proud. It's a surprisingly poignant moment for a genocidal curse.
Yeah, that was striking.
And this ties into another deep theme, this idea of a metaphysical ecology. The disaster curses, born from fear of nature, explicitly frame their existence in ecological terms. Hanami, the forest curse, literally wants to wipe out humans to allow the planet to heal from the damage we've caused.
It's like nature's immune system fighting back.
Exactly. They argue that humanity has created such a profound imbalance, spewing out so much negative energy, Kigare, that curses are the natural consequence. They're like spiritual predators emerging to cull the destructive dominant species, us. From that perspective, Jujutsu sorcerers aren't just heroes protecting humanity, they're also acting as exterminators, trying to maintain human dominance within a spiritual ecosystem that is actively fighting back against them.
That reframes the whole conflict again. It's not just good versus evil, it's humanity versus the consequences of its own existence, almost.
Yeah.
Okay, this deep dive really does show that Jujutsu Kaisen is so much more than just a high-octane action series. It's a masterclass in world building, isn't it? A truly modern mythology, expertly woven from these ancient Japanese traditions and beliefs. It feels like a really sophisticated tapestry of terror.
I think so too. Its real power lies in how it gives this terrifying, tangible form to very contemporary fears. Fears about overwhelming collective negativity, about fighting against corrupt and entrenched systems, about environmental destruction, even just existential dread in a world that feels chaotic.
Yeah.
The cursed spirits really are the monsters for the 21st century because they're explicitly born from our own shared anxieties, our own negativity.
So wrapping this up, the deep dive really seems to reveal this unsettling core idea in Jujutsu Kaisen, that the greatest source of horror isn't some external alien evil invading our world. It's the untamed wilderness inside us, the human soul itself. And maybe that leaves us with a final provocative thought to chew on. What if the most profound curse we face, the one underlying everything else in this story, isn't one that can ever be truly exorcised? Because it's the very act of consciousness itself.